Hey there, this is Schism. Got another 2,500 point pitched battle with my vampire counts versus Dark Elves. Starting my opponent's left, he has a Bolt Thrower, 5 Harpies, 20 Blackguard with a Razor Standard. To the right of that, he has 10 Repeater Crossbowmen with shields. In there, he has his level 4 with Talisman of Endurance, Dark Star Cloak. And for spells, she rolled up Mind Razor, Pit of Shades, Miasma, and Panera Bed Pendulum there. Now, when he rolled these spells, of course, I was upset about Mind Razor and Pit because Pit's great against Undead, but, it's expected to get at least one of them. But the good thing about the spells he rolled, it was that there was no remains in place spell, which means I don't have to use my power dice to try and get rid of any remains in place, which I am more than okay with. And then right to the right of the crossbowman there, he has another bolt thrower. In his center, he has 30 spearmen, kind of a smallish unit, but they're in horde formation. And in there, he has his BSB with an enchanted shield, sword of might, and a sea dragon cloak. Also in that unit, he has his Dreadlord, Armor of Darkness, Pendard of Calith, Crown of Command, and Halberd. So obviously this unit is not going anywhere anytime soon. To the right of that, he's got another Bolt Thrower. And to the right of that, he's got 20 Corsairs with the Frenzy banner there, the Serpent Standard. And then he has another Bolt Thrower, and his Hydra is on his far flank here, all the way to his far right. All right, on my side, my infantry eccentric undead army, I have 6 Crypt Horrors. In front of that, I have a Spirit Host. Then I have 40 Grave Guard with a Banner of the Barrows, full command. And in my center, here I have 20 Grave Guard, sword and board, full command. And in there, I have my Vampire Lord to give it some combat punch. He's got Quick Blood, Sword of Strife, Enchanted Shield, and Red Fury. Behind that unit, you can see there's 20 zombies, and in there is a naked level 4 and a level 1 with a Dispel Scroll. Right in front of the Vamp Lord's unit, you'll see there's another Spirit Host. And then I have 40 ghouls. To the right of that, I got 33 skeletons with a full command. And I have another Spirit Host. And you can see he also has 10 shades that have scouted right up to my right flank here, which is going to be a problem. And so on turn 1 for Dark Elves here, you can just see in the trees there the Hydra moved up. These shades moved up a few inches, and the rest of his army just stayed static. And obviously he's got a huge shooting advantage over me, so he's just going to stay back and pepper me with shooting and magic. So this was much to be expected. I got a long slog ahead of me. He casts the Panera Bread Pendulum here, and I let it go, and he's able to do a wound on my... He did the boosted version, so he rolled like a 15, and he doubled it to 30. So he touched the first Graveguard in this unit, and he got this Spirit Host. He's able to do 1 wound, which I was lucky, because it does D3 wounds, I believe. So he did 1 wound to my Spirit Host, and he did 1 wound to my Graveguard. Now, he has to deal with these Spirit Hosts pretty much with magic, because he only has 1 magic weapon on his BSB, so my Spirit Host will do a number on his army if they go unchecked. And then in his shooting phase, his crossbowman and his bolt throwers open up. He does the multi-shots, I think, almost all game here. So took 2 off my Graveguard with sword and board. Took 5 off my ghouls. And took 1 off my skeleton unit here. My turn 1, I was able to complete a charge here with my Spirit Host into his Hydra, which is awesome, because then if I don't break him here, then he won't be able to hurt me. So he needs to get a unit in there, a charge, a flank, some sort of combat res to try and crumble me. So that's an ideal situation. I take my skeletons and I reform them like so. Now I do this because I don't want any shades anywhere unchecked. So I reform to go wide just to make sure they can't sneak around me. And it really limits their options of where they can go. And then it's just a general advance for the rest of my undead. Everything kind of moves up, shuffles forward a full march. All that's within the general's range. And where I position him in that unit, he's pretty much able to give a full march to my main blocks here. And you see the Spirit Host. I kind of moved him over because I know he's got those those harpies there, and I know that he's gonna fly them right over my ghouls. I don't want to leave my crypt horrors, excuse me, in limbo trying to deal with just these harpies. So I have this back here to try and protect him in case he tries to snipe my level 4. Because all he needs to do is charge him in, and he can just allocate his attacks to the level 4, and the level 4 will, odds are, will go down just from the harpies alone. So that's why that spirit host is kind of lingering out back to keep those harpies in check. In the combat here, I charged. I didn't do any wounds to him. I got +1 combat res for the charge, and this is where I have to break him. And luckily he failed and he ran away, and I pursued, and I took the Hydra off the board, which is fantastical. His turn 2, Dark Elves turn 2, he cast Pit of Shades to get rid of this spirit host there. I let it go because I have more important things to worry about. I figure if I lose, a spirit host, big whoop. And he just, I fail my initiative test, and kerplunk, there goes the ghost. And then his shooting phase, again, he takes out 4 more of my ghouls, couple skeletons, and he takes out a grave guard. He does 2 wounds to a cryptara, and he flies his harpies all the way over my cryptara. So they're facing. They're ready to try and go into my level 4, but I have that spirit host there blocking that off. And he had to keep those harpies out of range just because he didn't want me to get my spirit host in there. My turn 2, skeletons promptly go into the shades here, and I think he killed 4 on the stand and shoot. But I got 33 of them here. I got a charge, I got a banner, I got 1 rank right now. I just gotta see what happens. I take my my spirit host here. I go into his bolt throw crew here, and I just need to stop all these shots coming at my army. And you can see he reformed his corsairs to try and fend off this spirit host, or at least keep it in check. And his magic phase was pretty ineffective, so it just went straight to my turn. And it was just another general advance here. I moved everything up as far as I could get it, pretty much making sure you had reasonable charge range. My magic phase, I cast Curse of the Years on his unit. He tried to fetch it with all his power dice, pretty much, and he failed to get it. So it killed 5 of his spearmen here, which is great. It's just he's gonna have to dispel it, or that unit's gonna go nowhere. It's gonna go bye-bye. So I also was able to raise a unit of 8 zombies in front, and he has to shoot them, or he's gonna shoot through them. And so if he doesn't shoot them off, then I'm gonna get a nice cover save from shooting through that unit. In the combat here, he fails his fear test, and I was able to do 3 wounds to him. He did 2 to me. I think I rolled. I rolled really good on my parry and my armor saves. He did like 6 or 7 wounds, and yeah, I saved 5 of them. And in that combat, he does break, and my skeletons run him down. And I actually run right off. Since I'm so wide when I ran after him, when he ran, yeah, I just ran off the board. So the skeletons are off the board. In his magic phase, he casted a boosted version of miasma on my graveguard with great weapons. I had to let it go. He reduces everything by 2. And in the shooting phase, he takes off 7 of the zombies, which leaves me 1. And he managed to finish off a whole cryptara. And what's good about that is he was forced to fire at that unit, so the rest of my main body didn't take any casualties. This is my turn 3. You can see my skeletons finally trudge onto the board, and they got a long walk if they plan on going anywhere. I take my cryptaras, and I shove them into this bolt thrower here. And the 1 lone zombie goes into this bolt thrower here. And my army moves up ever so slightly. In the magic phase, I managed to get Curse of the Years off again, and I threw the 3 or 4 dice at it, and he chased it with 3 or 4, and he couldn't catch it. But good news for him, only 1 of them succumbed to the curse, so it was fortunate for him. I managed to get off Invocation. I got off the 12-inch bubble. I raised my ghouls up to full strength, my graveguard up to full strength, and I added 7 or 8 more zombies to the back of my zombie unit here, which is good because I tried to cast Invocation in my second turn, and I think I rolled double ones, or I tried to cast it twice, and I failed to cast both times. So it was nice to get my units finally replenished this phase, all because he tried to catch that curse again. And I managed to get another raised dead up, and I raised 11 zombies right in front of his crossbowman unit again. And I managed to even get off a single dance on the grave guy with great weapons, just in case he wants to try and get that charge in there. So in the combat phase, my ghouls take care of that bolt thrower, reform to face the blackguard here, putting them in a very tricky situation. In the combat with a bolt thrower and my spirit host, it's just I'm not able to kill him. So that's why those corsairs keep facing that way, but the spirit host never gets through. His turn 4, he goes for a pit of shades, and since he can only see that side of the unit because he can't see past my zombies there, so he goes for the corner, and he gets a direct hit, and he kills 5 of my grave guard with sword and board. Then he goes to cast Mind Razor on 4 dice on his blackguard here. Now he's just doing this to deter my Crypt Horrors and my grave guard with great weapons to go in, and he gets off Irresistible, and he dimensionally cascades, and there goes 7 of his crossbowmen. So now my zombies got a tasty treat in front of them. They should be able to at least stick around and keep his sorceress in the combat. And she didn't get sucked into the warp. And then the shooting phase, he took out 2 of my grave guard, and he took out another ghoul. But like they're back up to full strength, so he's just wasting his shots now at this point because I'm just gonna raise him back. And my turn 4, you can see the skeletons once again trying to make the long march. But charges, first and foremost, I took my grave guy with sword and board, and I shoved him into his main block there with his 30 spearmen with his lord and his BSB. I meant to take my ghouls in there as well, but I failed to charge. I moved my zombie bus in the middle. As you can see, I got a bubble around of undead units, so they're quite well protected. And I still got that spirit host there, buddy with my necromancer to keep those harpies. They're just flying around about 15 inches out. And I put them in the middle there just so any spells I have I can bubble out, and I'll affect pretty much my whole entire army. And you can see the zombies, the 11 zombies went into the sorceress's unit there, and they took like 2 or 3 casualties from the stand and shoot. And in my magic phase, he dispelled most of what I had, but I did manage to get a bubble dance off, so all my units have rerolls to hit, which is always nice. And in the combat here, I issue a challenge to my Graveguard champion. He accepts with his Spearman champion, and my Graveguard champion survived the salvo and killing blowed his champion. A little bit of overkill, but I like it. Nice touch. His Dreadlord went next and killed a few guys. My Vampire Lord went and he killed 12 spearmen on his own. And you can see the total tally in the combat. 1 was in the challenge. So the rest of my Graveguard only managed to kill a single high elf. So yeah, he loses the combat by a boatload, a metric crap ton, and he sticks around because of the crown. And then it just goes into his turn 5. And his Dreadlord issues a challenge, and I feed him my champion. Of course, he promptly takes out the champion. And then my Vampire Lord goes, and he kills 11 more of the spearmen. He kills all the rest of the spearmen. They're all done. And then my Graveguard go, and they attack the BSB, and they killing blowed him right off the board. And this is where my opponent conceded the game right here on turn 5, because he had his Blackguard was about to meet the Graveguard with the great weapons, and I had my Crypt Horrors over there. And yeah, I was just gonna start raising again, and he didn't have much to do. His shadow magic pretty much abandoned him, which leads to the notes. raising, raising. It's so tough to get ballistic skill, range kills in. And when he did those, he took out 9 ghouls. He was gonna, and then I just raised them all back. It's so discouraging. All that, it's so tough to kill someone with ranged weaponry already for certain armies that, to raise them back is just completely demoralizing. Raising elites, I love Graveguard. Nobody can tell me otherwise. And just bringing back, toughness 4, with a decent save. Graveguard is awesome, especially when you're raising 11, 12-point model, 13-point models back. It's so worth it, especially with a level 4 getting, 4 plus D6. There's nothing like rolling a 6 and bloop, here comes 10 Graveguard. Shadow, I mean, it did little things here and there, but all in all, he just didn't have a chance to really get, this Shadow Magic to play a huge role. He killed a few models with initiative tests, but it really, it stopped me from charging his Blackguard, which I probably would have went in there and decimated him, but it was only staving off the inevitable. He wasn't able to connect with the charge and get off his Mind Raiders to really have an effect on the game. A Curse of the Years. I mean, as it's not so much an offensive spell, but just to put that up, they have to dispel it. He's getting +1 to his dice from his cloak there, and then he channeled like 3 out of the 5 magic phases he had. But he had to throw 3 or 4 to guarantee Curse of the Years going away. Otherwise, he would have lost models on a 5, and you just can't have that sitting around. And then on my magic phase, it'd be on a 4, and then before you know it, the unit is completely useless. Especially when he has a low model count army like he has right now. Curse of the Years is just brutal. The 7 attack Lord versus toughness 3. 9 times out of 10, Ogre Blade's the way to go. I've yet to use the Ogre Blade in my Vampire Lord because I love the Sword of Strife, just because I like those 7 attacks. And yeah, he struggles against toughness 4, toughness 5 a little bit. You won't get that many kills. But when you're facing toughness 3 models with not so great armor, in 2 rounds of combat, he killed over 20 models, 23 models. You really can't complain there. And that's really what, when you kid him out like that, that's really his strongest way, his strongest, opponent is, weaklings. And another key point in this game was the Corsairs. He was really scared of that Spirit Host. He didn't really want it to tie it up. Odds are, with all the ranks in the banner, he probably would have, killed it in a turn and a half, maybe even a turn, just through combat res. But their confusion really stifled his battle line and really allowed me to isolate his general's unit so I could rip it apart. And his Blackguard had more than they can handle with 40 Graveguard and those Cryptars. And his Corsairs, yeah, they were faced up against the ghouls, but they didn't even threaten anything. They didn't even threaten a flank. So that was really a pivotal unit in the game that really didn't do much. Losing the Hydra to a Spirit Host doesn't really help either. But I guess that's the way it goes. Thank you very much.